Well, hello, you absolute legends, you. Greetings and good evening.
Hello.
There we go. That's a well-oiled machine that we've got going on here. I appreciate it. Cheers, Muller.
I'm also here.
Yeah. We're here and we're here for a specific purpose, as always. It's last orders at the bar, so it's time to clear up the empties and answer the super chats from the other night. So I reckon we should just dive right into the super chats for open bar number 97. Let me see if I can find the first one here.
Beautiful.
Michael Brocky says, have any of you heard the bar song Tipsy? I immediately think of Drinker at a country bar whenever it comes on. Much love to all and hail to the open bar. Yeah, I've actually heard that song. It's surprisingly applicable to me, actually. Yeah, there's lines like, pour me another couple whiskeys. You know, you know, me and Jack Daniels got a history. It's good stuff. It's a good bar song. So, yeah, I appreciate that, and I think it's very appropriate for the open bar. Yeah. He also says, open bar number 100 featuring Grace Randolph, Chris Stuckman, and John Campia. Yeah, I think they'd all be happy to come on.
They jump on, yeah.
We get along famously, I think. JK Fozel says, hey, what's the panel's favorite Zelda game, and do you think any movie has a shot at success? So, I don't know about you. I know precisely nothing about Zelda. Never really played any of the games, so I don't know. Apparently Breath of the Wild's meant to be really good. Ocarina of Time, people rant about all the time.
Really I mean, they're very, very popular games, so, you know, so hyper popular.
I feel like I'm Brie Larson when she got asked that awkward question on her first YouTube video. Like, what's your favorite game? Like, I play Nintendo. That's the thing. Sure. Mega Spidey Man says, to all, worst lightsaber duo or duels before Disney, and why that or those? So, I guess, like, from a technical point of view, just in terms of like the athleticism and the skill and the pace of it, it's probably going to be Obi-Wan versus Vader in A New Hope. Like, that's, you know, a bodybuilder in a big, gigantic suit where he can't really see what he's doing versus like a 65-year-old man who's not really done anything like this before. It's never going to be great, but it's a great fight. It's a great scene because it means so much in terms of character, but from a purely like technical point of view, I'd say it's probably the worst.
So, is this across all movies, all TV shows?
So anything pre-Disney.
Oh, and his worst lightsaber fight? Did you say?
Yeah, and it could be for whatever reason you want. It might just be your personal like worst one. It could be lack of skill, or it could just be like, you know, pacing or whatever you feel is important, I suppose.
I'm trying to think of like what's the most meaningless. I mean, something that bugs me and has done forever is the three Jedi Masters who get killed straight away when they go after Palpatine. Feels lame.
Yeah, that was pretty lame, yeah.
Off they go. And you'd be like, yeah, but that's how powerful and quick he is. Like, you can do that. You didn't have to kill him that fucking fast, damn.
Yeah. I kind of always felt as well like Palpatine shouldn't really be a skilled lightsaber duelist. Like, his power with the Force is in different ways.
Well, it always felt like he's the Yoda equivalent for the bad guys, and I don't know, Count Dooku would be like Mace Windu's equivalent or something like that.
Yeah. The lightsaber duel between Anakin and Dooku wasn't great either. Because you could tell how they really awkwardly composited like Christopher Lee's face onto like a stuntman in quite a few scenes, and there just wasn't a huge amount of emotional investment in it because these two guys didn't have much in the way of rivalry and history leading up to it. It just didn't feel like I was that bothered about who won. Maybe it's just me. Cold Brew says, Drinker, is Ryan Drake going to be shirtless in your movie? If not, I'm not watching it. Go away now. He's not shirtless in this one. I think that's the closest we get. Like, you get a scene where he's like boxing against someone and he's just like in a tank top or something, I guess. That's about as close as he gets. But a few other people go shirtless. Sadly, Anya doesn't go shirtless, which I would have been 100% in favor of. But, you know, the actress is like, I'm not a porn star. And I was like, fine, but you could be. Simon Ho says Furiosa as a TV series would have made more sense. That's an interesting thought, actually. You could have definitely expanded on the rivalry between Joe and Dementis.
I wonder if they could have pulled it off too for like that same budget, because you know, I understand it would have cost more just by having more time, but at the same time, you'd be like, I wonder how much more, and then how much more would it have made a TV show? Maybe make less. I don't know. Interesting thing.
Yeah. David Kelly says Sydney Sweeney, Anna de Armas, and Vanessa Kirby are starring in an upcoming movie together. Please, Lord, let it be a lesbian love triangle story. You know it won't be, but one can dream. Solid Enemy says, sitting at a bar in Iowa. Cheers, drinker, mauler, and chat. Nice. That's as good a place as any to sit at a bar, I suppose. So I hope you enjoyed yourself. Trevor Cameron says, hi, Open Bar. A comic artist from California here. Hollywood thinks they're giving us Lord of the Rings in subtlety when they're just giving us Veggie Tales. Well, yep, you're bang on there. Jordan Pendragon says, 1997, first time DVDs were available in the US market. I didn't know that, actually. I didn't think they came about until like the 2000s. Shows what I know.
I still remember the feeling, though, of that being like the top level prestige format for movies, you know, like in terms of physical ownership. Like, oh my God.
I've got it on DVD.
So old now.
I suppose you'll be
720, right? Or are they lower? I can't remember. DVD res.
No, they were 720, yeah.
Yeah. 480i. Oh,
Jesus. But yeah, you'll be old enough to remember VHS, won't you? Because they hung around.
Oh yeah, no. I had a lot of time with VHS as DVDs was a big transition over, and I remember when Blu-rays started to do their thing. My dad was like, "This is ridiculous. It's going to be something new every 4 years or whatever. Where we have to switch all of our movies over to the next format." If only he was right.
Little did he know, like Blu-rays is it. That's as far as we're going to go. And then it's just, we'll just do away with physical media altogether, I suppose. Yeah. Remember HD DVDs? They were going to be a thing for a while. And then they weren't. It was like Betamax versus right? They lost the format war. So, oh well. I think Blu-rays were better ultimately. Peter Gromby says, hey doll, Mary doll, I am done with Amazon's bullshit. Tom Bombadil, probably. Yeah. You've not experienced the Tom Bombadil songs in Lord of the Rings, have you?
Well, what's interesting is the discussion of adaptation. There are people who are like, they didn't include Tom Bombadil in the movies, and then people who are like, yeah, they shouldn't have. And it's like, ooh.
Yeah. I mean, aside from the absurdity of his character, it's just, it would kill the fucking pacing. Because to include all of the stuff that goes on with him and the Barrow Whites and stuff, that scene is quite cool, but it's like a mini adventure, like within the larger story. That would have added probably 30, 40 minutes to the movie easily. So yeah, I can see why they killed it. Metal Face Rosie says, what's your favorite Weird Al song? The Amish one's really good. Living in an Amish paradise.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to pick favorites. One of the ones I really remember when it came out was fuck, what's the name of it? It's one where Jack Black shows up in it. 1 second. I'm sure I will find it. The reason why I liked it was Tacky.
Oh yeah, Tacky.
It's a catchy song, but the video is really cool. Like the way everyone moves through this whole building and it keeps passing on to the next person, all in one shot. Obviously, he's done really cool and interesting things in videos before. It's just I thought it was a fun video when it came out 9 years ago.
Jesus. Do you remember when he did Foil as well? It was taking the piss out of Royals by Lord. And it's just like how he loves aluminium foil just for wrapping up sandwiches. And then it transitions into this weird like conspiracy theory thing.
Yeah.
I like that one. Warwick Dwarner says, Buffy revamped Belgrade Theatre Coventry on the 4th of September, apparently.
What is that?
I don't know. What are they going to show? I don't know. Show selected episodes or something on a movie screen? Not sure.
Not sure.
James Moore says, "Get Metal to 10K, then he'll be forced to play Dark Souls 2 again. It'll be funny."
That is his promise when he reaches 10K to stream, and I think he's going to try and drag me into it. Though fuck, I'm gonna need a lot of warning for that to carve out the space to do a full playthrough of that fucking game.
How
And
close
plenty of
is he?
alcohol. He's
Yeah.
nearly 9K, I think he's coming up to now.
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah, we can get him there. Right.
it's gonna be scary. Don't
So
encourage it. I have to play that stupid game.
Well, yeah, I'm going to put it through democracy here. So, chat, if you or audience, if you want to punish Metal and Mauler and force them to play Dark Souls 2 all the way through, then yeah, subscribe to Metal. I'll put the link in the description to his channel. And
This is cruel and unusual.
Normie says, "I'm no Lord of the Rings expert like McKay and Payne." Yeah. But isn't Tom Bombadil supposed to be a merry fellow? This guy looks like he's going to beat me up for not giving him a quarter at the bus stop. Yeah, it just looks like a hobo. Grimnack. We have the Fellowship, the 199, and the Toxic Brood. What is Drinker's Chat going to be? Oh, yeah. What can we call it?
I just picture an army of like people who are half drunk with a bottle in their hand, sort of sauntering along like, fucking
angry drunkards.
Which, when in great number, are powerful.
I think so, yeah. The combined intoxication of them just like reaches critical mass.
It's like, I think, do anything. You know, they'll have like clothing maybe that's a bit like able to rip pieces off very easily. So at first, everyone's like, nah, they're not going to do anything, a bunch of drunk people. And then someone tosses a lighter into the group. And so they start making Molotovs with their bottle. And you're like, oh, God, no. It's like unlocking a technology tree skill. They've just
a waste of good whiskey right there.
Well, they finish the bottle and then do it, and they're like, "Why isn't this working?"
Yeah, we're gonna have to think up. A name right now, but we'll come back to you on that one. Jim says, "Sup, Drinker and Moobler. Last EFAP was some of the most nerdy and autistic shit that I've ever seen. It was great. Do it again sometime. Theo being fed up with comic characters and Unicron was delightful."
Yeah, I mean, we expect all kinds of surprises with something like that. I said if we ever do it again, we'll probably just restrict it down to all the famously fun fights to talk about, and then maybe some ones that people maybe haven't thought about as often. Like, because of course, like we did Batman versus Wolverine. I'm not sure if you have an opinion on who you think would win.
Do you want it now, or?
Well, specifically for the 3 rounds, Az gave his opinion on it. But do you remember the 3-round format?
So one, they're on a platform with like no like weapons or anything particularly.
Yeah, no resources additional to their base sort of stats.
Then they're in a forest, so you can play a bit of tactics there, and then they're given their base loadout for the final confrontation.
No, the base loadout's for round 2. Full loadout is round 3, like maximum power for round 3.
Yeah, I think round 3, Batman's going to take it because, like, with the amount of gadgetry and weapons and stuff he can call on, he's probably going to take Wolverine. Hand to hand, just on a platform with no loadout, Wolverine's probably got him because he's essentially invincible. So he's probably just going to slice and dice Batman eventually. In the forest, this is where it's tricky.
Yep.
I think it'd be a hell of a good fight, but I think Batman would probably edge it. Just on the basis that he's more intelligent, more tactical, and if he's got some of his loadout, he's probably going to have enough resources to call upon to like incapacitate Wolverine and then find a way to destroy him.
I think that's good reasoning. Az actually concluded that it would be Wolverine that's going to get him, and it's going to be a tough fight. But the problem, obviously, in the forest rules we had, there are limitations such that like he can't get to his Batcave, he can't get to like, because if Batman had his resources and time, Wolverine's never going to beat him. But in a forest where they're both spawned in, and Batman has, you know, his utility belt, his grappling hook, he has a bunch of stuff, he can put up a good fight and avoid a bunch of shit from Wolverine. But Wolverine is no, you know, pushover. He is fast, he is aggressive, he's got his senses. If you go into a tree, he can probably leap up to it, right?
I think, yeah, it's going to come down to, like, with the grappling gun, for example, like, how many times can you use that before it's just exhausted its resources? Because if you could kind of...
That's the other thing. I think, no matter what Batman does, Wolverine's recovering pretty quick, and whatever Wolverine does, Batman is like, that's going to hurt. One stab and Batman's almost fucked.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. You could be right. I think it's just... I would need to see what sort of his base loadout would be, just in terms of equipment and stuff. Maybe there's things there that could help him out. But I think as well, like, you know, Batman's got his no-kill rule. Like, with Wolverine, you're probably going to have to kill him if he's really intent on getting you. Like, he's not going to stop. Like, so you're going to have to take him down one way or another. What's the next one? Goger says there's no such thing as a peaceful German. Well, I don't know, Metal seems pretty chill.
He's chill, yeah.
Master of Puppets says, been slowly catching up with EFAPs and just saw 98. Do you think Last of Us 2 would have been better without Joel and Ellie, just following an entirely new group of survivors, be it in Seattle or another city entirely?
We wouldn't have advised it. Because we would be like, this is The Last of Us. You've built up those characters. There's so much more you can do with them. There's no need to not do anything. But then when they're like, oh, would you like to see more of them? You're like, oh, not from you, actually. Yeah, no. In the vein that we don't want them to ruin it, but in the same case, like I doubt they would do so much better if they only had new characters. This sort of new approach or new investment, new values to writing, as we saw in The Last of Us 2. Last of Us 2 isn't bad simply because of what it does to Joel and Ellie's characters. It's like all of it has shit writing throughout. It's like even the stuff with Abby and all of her side, I remember it being insufferable and lame and like confusing and stupid. And like I told you, one of the big things I kind of hated about the way they handled Abby, if you want to have it, because if we were tasked with making The Last of Us 2 and the only thing they gave us was when Joel killed a bunch of people in that hospital, there was several people's family members who he is just pissed off to the point where they will come and get him. That's your premise.
Sure. I think that's great fertile ground for writing a good story, and I think you can do all kinds of things about the dangers of like how far do you take revenge, how much are you prepared to sacrifice for this. Is it ultimately what you want when you get to know this person? Like you could do loads with that. I just feel like they chose the worst possible option.
Just as a random idea, you have Joel and his faction have often got like territory fighting with some other faction, and then these guys come in and they get control over Joel and his team somewhat through like a bunch of well-planned, extensively like laid out sort of stuff, and then they find out that Joel did what he did for the reasons he did. And so it becomes incredibly difficult to just execute everyone here, because they're like, "What do you mean? Like our parents basically wanted to tear this girl up just to get any progress on a vaccine that at this point wouldn't even fucking matter." And Joel's like, explains it somewhat. Everyone else does, and even Ellie is like, that's how she discovers, explicitly what he did, but she understood that's what he did, at least somewhat. So we could make a lot of really interesting conflict and multiple factions, that sort of stuff.
Well, I mean, my idea, because I put forward a bunch of like suggestions in my review of Last of Us 2, where you could have done this like in a more interesting way. And one of them was like you get to Ellie and Abby team up and spend the majority of the game together, getting to know each other. You get to really bond with Abby as a super like sympathetic character without necessarily knowing why she's there or what she's looking for. Then she encounters Joel and you find out why she's actually there. And then, she has to decide, do I really want to kill him? Is it worth it for all of this? And it creates this real moral conflict. And with Ellie as well, like, this is a friend that I've bonded with and who's perhaps saved my life on many occasions. Am I going to kill her to save Joel? What does all this like mean in terms of my loyalties? That you could do a lot with. I think that would make for quite an interesting story, and it would really make the audience conflicted as well. But again, they wanted that shock value of killing Joel right off the bat, and then trying to present themselves as such amazing writers that they can redeem this character and show you a different perspective. You're not going to come back from that, especially when you fucking sandbag Joel to make him like the worst possible version of himself.
What's the newest on that? Are they making like a prequel Last of Us thing, or was that like a meme? I can't remember. They want to do something else with it, right?
No.
Or
Druckmann's teased the idea that they're going to do a third one, but they've not announced it.
The way to word that, Draker, is he's threatened the idea of making another.
Yeah,
it's okay.
Well, the problem is like now there's nothing to lose because I don't give a fuck about this version of Ellie now. She's such an asshole. Like I've got no real sympathy for her. Abby, again, don't care if she lives or dies. So they can do whatever they want. I just wouldn't have any emotional investment in it now. So Salacious Thumb says, Critical Winker and Darth Mauler, what is your favorite comic series and favorite game? Comic series? I can't tell you because I don't really read comics. Favorite game? It's probably going to be a Resident Evil, I would think.
Yeah, I got the same answer for comics pretty much. But when it comes to favorite game, there's a couple of answers. I have a clear answer for films. And I'm not even 100% why on that compared to games, but games I usually mention Super Metroid and Metroid Prime are two of my like favorite games of all time. But then you got Soma, which is the game that's probably mattered to me the most on a philosophical level, I guess. And then like a game that I've been most immersed into as a experience, I think that would actually be Metroid Prime. I'm trying to think, like Bloodborne is one of my favorite games of all time for the world it creates and the atmosphere. You know what I mean? Like there's games that there is no one game that does all of the things the best for me. I got a couple, so yeah, that's the best I could do. I'm sorry.
No, that's pretty good. That's reasonable, I would say. Avarith says, "Hey guys, been watching for a while. Got inspired by you guys to do better. Lost 30 kilos over a year, and I'm going to my first official kickboxing match tomorrow.
Hey.
So wish me luck." That is just the kind of thing I fucking love to hear. Always like to see guys just like getting themselves into shape, improving their lives, like finding a new direction and a new purpose, I guess. And it seems like you've really found it. So well done, man. I hope the kickboxing match went really well.
Yeah, good stuff.
Exotic Player says, "Hail Drinker and Panel, what's your thoughts on Japanese whiskey? I've heard they're highly regarded and has a similar process to Scotch whiskey. So I've had Suntory whiskey. Can't say I loved it. Yeah, it was quite rough tasting. What's the other one that they do? So is it... No, it's not Roku because that's gin. Let me just look it up here. There was one I had that I quite liked. Yeah, Hibiki. So that stuff's pretty good. It's not exactly cheap, but it's a much smoother sort of taste, and it kind of tastes a bit much. It tastes a bit more like malt whiskey from Scotland. So I guess that would be my pick. But I've got to be honest, I'm a bit of a loyalist for Scottish whiskey. So yeah. Barry Francis says, "I remember when you had to wait months, if not a year, before films came out on home video. Yeah, those days are long gone now. It's like a matter of weeks now." Lubor Kambal says, "Mahler adopts Bathynomus giganteus as a pet."
Sure.
Yeah, sure. Okay, perfect. Brad Wilson, "Theatre etiquette is shit. Maybe it's me getting older, but why spend money to just be annoyed surrounded by inconsiderate cunts that are being too distracted to enjoy the actual film?"
So like, it's not as bad where I'm at, I guess. But when I was watching Red Light Media did a video on theaters recently, and
yeah,
they play clips, and one of the clips is in some fucking American like news report where I don't know what the fuck made this happen, but it's like a PSA from the report saying like, when you go to the theater, make sure you shower before going there, and make sure. And it's just like, what the? How did that happen, guys?
It's like we're going to get to the point where it's like, remember to breathe air and drink water on regular occasions.
Remember to not be a stinky piece of shit. Like, okay.
Yeah. This is, I think, an increasing problem because particularly now, like, you can get super fucking huge TVs for your living room, like, 60, 70 inches, no problem. Like, the average person can afford that now. And so when you've got that and you only have to wait a matter of weeks for a theatrical release to then come to home media, where's the incentive to go in, really?
Well, that's the big conversation. You need, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, the huge key is the dramatic drop in quality. The people have no reason to, especially like the exclusivity factor as well. I would be here all day if we went through it all. We've talked about it several times. I just find it fascinating how it just seems like everyone's recognized it now that theater has it's not COVID, or rather, it's not only COVID. Theater has been slain as a format somewhat.
The stupid thing is as well, like, people will always point to things like Barbenheimer and be like, see, those movies made like $1 billion. That proves that like theaters are alive and well. It's like, okay, one movie being super successful doesn't change the overall trend. It's just an outlier. You need like a whole summer of this.
Yeah. And it ain't looking good. And what does it mean for the future? Who knows? We'll find out.
Yeah. Thomas Aarons says the economy is shaky. There were more bank failures in 2024 than there were in 2008 during the big financial collapse. Yeah, I think the economy is a big factor in this as well because, again, going to the cinema is a luxury and it's an increasingly expensive luxury. So why are people going to spend that money on it when they don't need to? Inferior says biggest weakness in girl boss movies are the fact that women themselves barely even watch them. The audience that they try to pander to. Yeah, you're right. I think particularly in the action genre, you know, I don't want to generalize, but I think it's fair to say that that tends to attract more of a male audience than a female one. So trying to pander to women in situations like that, you're pandering to an audience that doesn't exist and probably never will. So yeah, that's a problem.
It still pales in comparison to the issue of like, because there's you know, like Kill Bill. It's like we were able to make ones that men really enjoyed as well as women. But
well, that's what I mean. But yeah, but then when I say pandering, I mean like you're pandering to this like really shallow idea of like, huh, well, we put a girl in it that's strong and can beat the crap out of people, so that means it's good, right? Rather than like putting in the work to actually develop an interesting character. That's not pandering, but this is, and it's like it just doesn't work. Patrick Mulligan says, Muller, you and the EFAPers seem to pirate new releases. How do you square pirating releases with your Hassan-style React content is stealing take?
Well, first of all, pirating, I am completely on the team of pirating is a neutral action now. It depends on the context. When I was a lot younger, I think I felt like it was mostly sort of immoral, but there are exceptions. But at this point, with what's happening with media, like piracy will be necessary to save it, like which is fucking crazy when you think about it. Secondly, Hassan's issue is not the acquiring of material without having paid people on YouTube for it. It's more so like, why the fuck isn't he contributing anything? Because that's what makes it complicated on YouTube, is that it's available without payment anyway. That's why people are like, well, you know, fuck it, that's just your video. It's like what we do, take for example, me and Drinker with any review of anything, whether we saw it in the theater or we watched it on a streaming service, is that we don't steal it. We don't go, here's our review of, you know, this movie, and we play the whole movie, and then we go, we didn't like it, bye. Yeah. You know, which would be the equivalent of what he's doing. Like the actions are entirely different. I think that especially when you're evolving a piece of content into a completely different you know, it's all the rules that come with fair use and everything, right? Like transformative, critique, commentary, remix, review. I feel like we do all of those things. And that's the thing I have said before, my videos, and Drinkers by extension, I don't even know that we would win court cases. I know that we are in the clear morally from our own points of view and from vast majority of our audiences, but I don't actually know what the courts would say if we were actually taken to a very serious battle. For example, my video on Multiverse of Madness, I don't know if I would get away with what the footage in that video might constitute enough that they would be like, this is just piracy or stealing a thing. Yeah, which would be unfortunate, IMO, but you know.
Well, I think if they did end up examining it, they would conclude like this clearly was made with the intent of examining and critically appraising this piece of art.
I would absolutely defend that was my intention, and that there's no way one could say, well, because someone could argue it does replace the film. Well, some could argue that, but then I would argue like only in the sense that someone would rather watch me break it down than watch the film. Because
yeah, I was going to say it's more entertaining than the film in that respect. So yeah,
like saying it replaces it in the market for what piece of content it is bullshit. No, it doesn't.
Yeah. Charlie Flint says 1997 was the year we lost James Stewart, Chris Farley, and John Denver, and I was born. It was a bad trade, I say. Sorry, I had no choice in the matter. That's not true. Maybe you're going to grow up to be the next Jimmy Stewart or something. Who knows?
Yeah.
So don't sell yourself short. Peter Garombe says, I heard a rumor that Cthulhu went mad trying to comprehend how long the long man truly was. Is that true, Muller?
Well, like I said, he's a roommate of mine. We haven't spoken in a little while. He's a little bit too big time for me now, which is fine. He got famous. That's cool. Good for him. He's been in lots of movies.
Honestly, I think he sold out. He went too commercial.
I didn't want to say it. Drinker said it. I didn't say it. I'm just saying.
You retained the long, whereas he just became broad, and that's not the same thing.
He has allowed his image to be used in many ways that even I think that he wouldn't appreciate. So I don't know. I don't want to be too critical of him. He's under a lot of stress. He had that whole controversy with I think he had a cocaine addiction. He's getting there. Yeah. You know what? We love him. Cthulhu, if you're out there, you know. I hope you're doing okay, buddy.
Cthulhu, call me.
On the show.
Yeah. Kara says, rewatch the full Mad Max series. Mad Max, I would give 4 out of 10. Road Warrior, 7 out of 10. Beyond Thunderdome, 5 out of 10. Fury Road, 10 out of 10. And Furiosa, 7 out of 10. Come at me. So I don't quite agree. I'd probably give Mad Max 7. I'd give Road Warrior 9. Beyond Thunderdome probably 6. Fury Road I think I'd give an 8, and then Furiosa 6 or a 7.
I would have to rewatch the lot, but I don't. I rate Fury Road above Furiosa for sure. They're the two I've seen most recently because I rewatched Fury Road after Furiosa.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I know that I remember finding the original trilogy to be stronger, but that's because it would take ages to go over all my very specific issues with how they've handled that franchise at this point.
It's such a strange thing how it came about. Like, they never could have anticipated when they made that first Mad Max movie. Like, what would it be in like the late 70s? I think it was like 78, 79. It's old as fuck. Anyway,
Yeah.
This like low budget Australian thriller would end up spawning this massive franchise, and we'd still be like reviewing movies about it like 40 odd years later. It's insane. Salacious Thumb says, Mauler, would you consider an EFAP for Tales of the Jedi with Theory and Ryan? Only 15 minutes an episode, and I think there's some Dooku and Qui-Gon episodes that you generally enjoy, even though it's Dave Filoni.
That is what I hear. Genuinely, the difficulty in sorting all of this out would be I need to split myself into a bunch of me's. I've explained to some people I'm currently trying to get through Star Trek, the original series. We just finished up episode 22. So, you know,
Wow.
It's the kind of thing where it's essentially filling the slot for, new stuff. But I've simultaneously been watching that, Smiling Friends, and sometimes I'm watching Doctor Who, depending on if I need to for breakdowns and stuff, or if a friend is like, please watch it with me, I don't want to be alone. Okay. And then of course we've got Acolyte and House of the Dragon, so combine all of that with the movies I want to watch in my leisure / the movies I want to watch ready for analysis videos that I'm making or streams. It's insane the amount of shit to fit in a schedule, and I'm sure Drinker feels the same somewhat. Not that I don't appreciate that these things are good suggestions.
Yeah. I think in the longest of scales, if we could just pause media now, like just don't make anything new, and so we can just catch up on the backlog of stuff that we have to like cover, I think that'd be great.
Yeah.
I think that's the solution. So Hollywood just stop making stuff for the next 4 years, probably. That'll allow us to catch up on everything that we want to do.
Let's go radical. Let's switch them off for 10 years. We're going
I think that's crazy. Fine. It'd be so funny if society just becomes like fucking radically improved because of it.
Well, for the next 10 years, we'll spend each year on a decade, and we'll just go through and we'll enjoy it. And then when they switch back on, you know what? The attitude will be like, you know what? You don't need to come back. It's okay.
We're fine without you.
Yeah.
KKK says it's a bad idea to take your girlfriend to a girl boss movie, so guys just won't pay for that shit. Same for married guys. It's already enough to have a girl boss at home. No need to promote it even further. Could be true. Yeah. The Silver Ranger says, Drinker, my pal, an MCU fan, is trying to ask this girl out. He's super shy, but I know that he's a supremely impeccable and magnificent pro. Do you have any dating advice? Much thanks from the 199. Dating advice? No, man. It's been a while.
I mean, you got to go for it, right? That's like step one. Try not to be weird about it, just get the right situation, feel out some vibes. You could do the classic of finding out a friend of a friend if there's anything mutual before you give it a shot, / he gives it a shot. Does this at all have my friend energy when it's supposed to be me, this message, do you think?
It's hard to tell. I want to give him the benefit of the doubt and say he's just concerned for his friend. But either way, if it's you or your friend, I don't know, like, it's particularly for Americans, they seem to be better at just approaching people and just like biting the bullet and saying, hey, I kind of like you, you want to go out for a drink sometime or whatever. It's like, it's really basic, but they'll either say yes or no depending on what they think. So I don't know. Sometimes it's easier to just get it over with than do this weird like build up to it. We're probably just going to get in your own head anyway. So yeah, I guess that would be my advice. It's definitely easier when alcohol's involved anyway. The Silver Ranger says, oh no, sorry, I just had one from you. Patrick Mulligan says, Red Letter Media was right. Fury Road is awesome. ER's review of it was cringe. He was the exact non-fan that Jay and Rich Evans mocked in their Road Warrior review. So I haven't seen ER's review of it.
I need to see it again. It's been a while, but Sorry, can you say it again, just so I know what I'm
So
responding to?
Red Letter Media was right. Fury Road is awesome. ER's review of it was cringe. He was the exact non-fan that Jay and Rich Evans mocked in their Road Warrior review.
This is probably in reference to how ER admits he hasn't seen Mad Max 1, 2, or 3 when reviewing Fury Road, but I don't know that matters when he's talking about what he believes is good and bad about the script of Fury Road, like on its own.
Okay.
He even says he was very invested in having Max as a... He liked the portions with Max, and he thought Max was interesting in Fury Road. He just felt like he got sidelined, and he doesn't have essentially a goal of his own. He gets sort of brought into Furiosa's goal. He's just sort of around, which...
yeah, I can agree with that.
Yeah, that's something that I think we'd have to all agree is the case. Whether or not you think it's worth doing that for a storyline is another thing. He points out a couple of things from memory, like you remember the part where Morton Joe is like, they're heading back to the Citadel, they know it's undefended. It's like, he points that out as like, that's really fucking retarded. Like, you left everyone, and then you were like, oh geez, if they turn around on us, that would be the worst thing. It's just like, why don't you just leave someone there? Like, what? It feels so weird. Like, do you not know this the whole time? It's very much delivered in like a, oh my god. And you know that he admits in the review from memory the special effects are really awesome. Those are the action is really awesome. But the performances, I can't remember what he said about the performances, but he's very critical of many of the good guy characters for how much they're wasteful and how they don't seem to appreciate the world they're in. Like they have the mindset of people from our world instead of the people who would have lived in that world.
Yeah, I guess he's referencing how much water and things that they waste. So
yeah, like they have themselves a bath in the middle of the chase. I remember that when I watched it, I was like,
yeah, I was kind of like, are you just doing this because you want a bunch of hot women like showering? Like, in which case I can get behind that, fine. But yeah, it doesn't fit with the vibe really. Michael says, my normie middle-aged dad perspective is this. It's not exactly a girl boss thing. I'm not dropping $80 again to take my boys to another movie where the female is better than the men. I've seen it a dozen times now and I'm full. I mean, yeah, I mean, I think I can understand that reticence when it comes to just movies of this type. Like, Furiosa isn't that. And it's a shame because that's, I guess, the thrust of my own review on it. It's like it's getting tarred with that brush when it doesn't really deserve it, but I can understand why people are doing that.
I think it would be interesting. I know it's not easily feasible, but to go and ask like families who used to go to the cinema, like why they're not doing it as much anymore, and just see what kind of answers you get. I wonder how much would just be, I don't know, it doesn't feel worthwhile. I wonder if that's one of the most common answers, because ultimately, I think getting everyone in the car and making sure everyone is ready and paid for with how fucking expensive it is. And then, you know, got whatever food and drinks they may or may not prefer. Everyone's in line. You watch the thing. It's a complete risk on whether you like it. And then everyone has to get home. I say all of this. I understand it's not some horrible difficulty, but it's more than not doing it. And it's more than everyone, family, you know, movie night. And then on my big screen, and I'm going to put in one of my favorite films of all time that I know all of you will like, and we can all have fun. And then you're all taken care of because we're at home. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and like if someone wants to like go off to the bathroom or something, it's like, okay, we'll just pause it for a minute and like go and get a snack, go for a piss or something, whatever. Like, yeah, all that stuff that you can't do in the movie theater. And you know what I think more than anything as well, it's time that it takes. It's the time to drive to and from the movie theater and the time that you have to sit through all the fucking adverts and the trailers and everything. That adds like a good hour onto your experience easily. Like driving and trailers and adverts and all that stuff and the expense of it. I can see why now, when we're getting used to a much more convenient way of life, it's just becoming a pain in the arse that people just don't need. It's like, I mean, it's almost like that with physical media. It's so much of a fucking effort now for people to just stand up, like go and get the disc from the box and put it into their DVD player or their Blu-ray player or whatever and play the movie. Whereas they can just press some buttons on the remote and download it. Like that's the convenience level that people are just not willing to go to now. I just think it's an interesting bit of human psychology, I think, that becomes more and more prevalent as we go. Daily Dose says, to be fair, Mad Max has never been a huge box office draw. The first three made their way on home video and TV, and Furiosa has done well as far as Mad Max movies go. Yeah, I mean, this is true. Like, Fury Road wasn't a big hit, financially. It's just people liked it.
This is another problem that Red led me to do highlight is the ballooning of budgets, which we've all talked about, and everyone can concede. Mad Max was never a movie that was meant for these kinds of budgets. Why are you doing this? Like it's you know why it's sad and annoying is because you're going to kill the franchise if you do this. When you're like, well, I guess people don't like Mad Max. It's like, no, you wouldn't have said that had you fucking halved the budget. It would have been fine.
Not every movie can be the fucking Avengers. It's just like, if this had been done on a budget of 50, 60 million, you'd be laughing by this point.
Well, to be honest with you, man, like Fury Road, like we talked about this a couple of times. I think people have a really bad notion because everyone celebrates and talks about it. So it's like budget at 150 million estimated, gross worldwide 380. That's not great.
No, that's not turning a profit, really.
And like, I don't know that from those numbers, if you said now we're going to make a Furiosa movie, I'd be like, I don't think we can expect whatever you make the movie. I don't know that we can expect it to be successful. Like, we had Max in Fury Road, quote unquote. Like, and look at it, didn't do as well as we would like. And correct me if I'm wrong, but it was a higher budget for Furiosa, right?
I think it's about equal. It's about 160 million.
I didn't feel that in Furiosa compared to Fury Road, that budget.
Yeah, I wonder if Hemsworth was probably quite expensive. Probably Anya Taylor-Joy was as well. But yeah, I get what you mean. Like, it didn't feel like a super high budgeted movie in terms of the action that we actually got. Which, I mean, it was a shame. It's just wasteful.
It was a lot of character study stuff. Which is, like, I'm not against it. I just don't... I'm strictly trying to speak, not right now from how much I liked the film or how much I thought it was good, but from a strategy point of view.
Yeah. I think the only Mad Max movie now that would probably draw in a decent audience and make you some decent money would be a Mel Gibson return, like old Max, for one last ride or something. Like, the nostalgia factor would kick in pretty hard there.
Yeah, and if it were great, then that would be the most... I almost want to see that happen now just to see what the numbers would be, because I have no idea exactly how well it would do, but that's the best you can do with those components. In the same vein that, like, when someone says, all right, next Star Wars movie, what's the best we can do? And someone says a Rey movie, you're like, that is the opposite of the best thing you can fucking do right now.
Best I can do is Rey.
And in the same vein, it's like a Mad Max movie that's going to be Furiosa. You're like, that's not the smartest thing to do right now.
Yeah. Yeah, agreed.
And then it's going to be, well, Mad Max as an IP is over. It's like, that's your fault, not Mad Max, but whatever.
Yeah. Todd Howard with the gun says, no one trusts Hollywood actors anymore. Between the pandemic, the election, and the Weinstein scandal, there are a few respectable Hollywood actors now. There's only Keanu, Jack Black, and a few others. I mean... I think that there's a lot of factors in that, but yeah, I think there's the myth of the Hollywood movie star and the sort of mystique around them has evaporated because we got to see too much of what they're actually like, and it's not impressive. Liam Hemmings, leaving aside the agenda, Hollywood movies are just boring and trite these days. I think that's a bit of a problem too. Yeah,
we talked about lengths. That's another really bad aspect that's become really popular. And the fourth act, another thing that's like, where'd all these bad ideas come from? Stop.
Yeah, it's all trends, I suppose, isn't it? Patrick Mulligan says, Muller, no more Star Trek nectar. Back to the She-Hulk mines with you and Muto. Looking forward to you and Drinker watching Deep Space Nine. Cisco is better than Picard and Kirk. Oof, that is a bold claim.
I mean, I've heard people say it before. So wait, just to clarify, Cisco is Deep Space Nine, right?
Yes.
So I will be seeing his run as well. I will say I've come to... It feels so weird now because I'm familiar with 22 episodes of TOS, which dwarfs... well, maybe it doesn't dwarf the movies. I was just thinking 40 minutes times 22, does that beat out 6 times 2 hours? Maybe, probably.
I think it probably does, yeah.
As I've said before, if I was to select however many right now and watch them with you, I think it would be, very similar to what we were doing with the movies in terms of commenting on what things are neat and stuff. Spock is my favorite. He has some of the best interactions with characters strictly because that when they were designing him, he was meant to be in opposition to a lot of characters. He's like he's a strange man with his logic. It's also really quaint to see the focus of the writer to be strictly like, what does it mean for logic to be like in strict focus versus the heart? Like that is the goal. It's very clear, very interesting. Everyone can understand it. There's no like grander, greater, more complicated, or even social issues coming in necessarily. There are social issues obviously addressed in Star Trek, but what I mean is the character of Spock is simply the idea of him running on logic, and then you get lots of little strong payoffs here and there. Like they come across what people have apparently described as proto-Q. Do you know what I'm talking about? There's an episode where it's a guy who's like messing with them all. He can have like, he's got like god powers.
There's a few episodes like that, yeah.
Yeah, he well, at least the first one that I've seen, I think it was called The Squire of Gothos. He it's a very, very good episode. It's one of my favorites from the TOS anyway. And he says like when he comes on to the Enterprise, because he can just do whatever he wants, that he's not annoyed with Kirk for like running away. He's annoyed with whoever Spock is for beaming them out. And he says, "Who is that?" And Spock says, "That's me." And he says, he just looks at everybody. He's like, "You don't like me, do you?" And then Spock's like, "I don't like raw power when it's not like rendered or controlled by intelligence." Like he just delivers a really, and he's like, "That's rude." And it's it's just really good stuff. Obviously, I really like Kirk as well. I will say, from what I found in the series so far, Bones, I wish there was more of Bones' character. He seems very much just he pops up to disagree, and that's about it.
Yeah, I mean, there's there's the classic like, "Oh, damn it, Jim, I'm a doctor, not a blah blah blah." Yeah, and he's quite often there just as a kind of emotional counterpoint to like Spock, but then he doesn't get so much of his own narrative thrust. I think there is the occasional episode that's more focused on him. There's a really good episode that puts Spock's logic to the test, where I think him and Scotty are like marooned on a planet with a crippled shuttlecraft, and they have to try and find a way off. They get hunted by like the local indigenous people there, and like Spock keeps applying the most logical principles. Essentially, he does everything by the book and does the correct thing logically, but it's the it doesn't pay out for him. It essentially makes their situation worse, and he can't understand why, because from his point of view, he's doing everything right. And it's like coming to terms with the idea that a lot of people are not inherently logical, and they will not always make decisions based on what's the logically correct thing to do. They're driven by emotions. And yeah, it's quite a good episode, I remember.
That episode's called the Galileo 7, and it's my favorite currently of
well, there you go.
It's very good, and it's really, honestly, possibly what I would argue is the best written I've seen so far, because it's so tight. The shuttle goes down, gets damaged by the ionization of the atmosphere or something, and so it has to recover, but the ship can't go in to save them because it'll get destroyed by that too. And they're also on a clock because they've got to get, I think, medical supplies on the ship to a planet that's actively dying from an illness. Yes. And so they have a passenger who's desperately trying to tell them, like, all my people will die if you don't go. And it's like, yeah, but if we leave them, they'll die. And Spock knows that. And he's trying to incorporate like everything. And then by the end of the episode, you have Kirk stayed for as long as he could with no real reason to do so, as in no logical reason. He did it because he was sure like Spock would find a way to get a message to him. Spock would figure out something. And Spock relied on the fact Spock does something very risky at the end of the episode to make himself seen, and they even talked to him at the end like that didn't seem very logical, and he said it was logical for me to take the gamble or something. He basically does like a loop of what he was totally. It's how you do Spock. I was totally using logic. It's like, were you? It's like totally 100%.
Totally. My logic was overwhelming there.
And you basically just get a display of why it's important to have the heart and the mind working together from Kirk and Spock. I would probably say it's one of the best episodes to sell people on the series. Yeah.
Wait till you get to Space Seed as well. That'll be great. Having watched
I'm on the way.
Yeah. Provocateur Extraordinaire says Furiosa is just an unsuccessful ripoff of John Wayne's The Shootist, probably. Just watch The Shootist, Drinker. The Shootist review when? Also high metal. So, interesting point you make there. Completely untrue. It's got absolutely nothing to do with The Shootist, but I get what you were going for there. The Shootist is a fantastic movie, John Wayne's final film, and a very poignant one. And I will one day review it. Metalface Rosie says, be honest, Mauler, when Doug showed up in Smiling Friends, you shed a tear and said, my boy made it.
Oh, yeah, I can't deny. I was kind of happy for him, especially because he's displayed a very good sort of response to being shat on, right? He's been shat on forever for being embarrassing, for ruining like film criticism back in the day, for being a clown, for all this other stuff, and he just runs with it. And the people who made Smiling Friends have made fun of him for years, but in a very like in their own sort of videos. But they do it in a way that I think is very harmless, and he's obviously been okay with it. And now they're like, hey, do you want to have a cameo because we think it would be really fucking funny? And he's like, yeah, I'll do it with you guys. It's like that to me. I love that sort of result, you know.
Yeah, this is his redemption arc, possibly.
Well, and you know, his content can still be very cringe, but I would never take it away from him that he happily played himself to make fun of himself in a TV show as a favor to guys who are making fun of him. That's pretty cool.
That's pretty good. Average Welder says, shout out to my welder out there. May I ask what process you're doing? So that's probably for Jedi Brooks, because he mentioned that he was welding when he tried to respond to my invite. I don't know what his particular process is. I think he uses lasers for it. That's about the best I can tell you here. B. Culpy says, Anya Taylor-Joy's eyes still think it's 2021 and they're socially distancing. Oh man, her and Halle Bailey, man. The memes are just brutal, but kind of funny. Be Locking Your Door says, cannot wait to see a 4K extended Lord of the Rings trilogy in theaters. For those who don't know, Lucy's actress in Fallout is also the voice of Jinx in Arcane. Is that true?
Would you say Ella Purnell?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Didn't know that.
That's another show that if they manage to maintain the quality of season 1, I imagine that's going to be hyper popular in season 2. Especially because now it's not just League community, it's not just a new show, it's also going to be people who are like, season 1 was really fucking good, who are going to be backing it up, you know?
Well, yeah, like me, I knew fuck all about League of Legends, but like watched the show, just fucking loved it. So that was enough for me.
See the poster that's been going around?
No, I don't believe I did.
So obviously season 1's poster, you may remember it. It's when they're younger, and Vi is holding powder. When they're kids, and then the new one is a play on that. Let me see if I can send you. I don't know if you'll be able to pop it up on screen or whether or not you want to, but I want you to see it, darn it.
Well, so I'm going to look at it right now. Oh, interesting.
That's the original for season 1. This is the season 2 one.
Let's see. Right. Okay.
Love the
very much keeping the same theme. Yeah.
Well, it's just like Vi does not look comfortable. Jinx looks fucking insane, and of course, it's just how their relationship is altered and what it's going to mean going forward. There's the amount of detail and effort that goes into the creation of this show, because I watched the behind the scenes of it, which I fully recommend. Do you know that they had like a whole story that they'd started working on, and they decided that it wasn't up to snuff, and so they scrapped it and started like rewriting? Like,
I love that. Imagine that. Imagine having that dedication to producing the best possible result that you would scrap months of work.
It's ironic because someone would be like, "Well, and yet you take issue with reshoots." I'd be like, redrafting your script is the most normal thing about creating a story. Reshooting several. Do you know they're reshooting the new Captain America film again?
Yeah, that's
absolutely
fucking
nuts.
Disaster. Yeah.
What the fuck has happened, guys? Like, it's like you could avoid this by working on the script, and that's what I mean. It's just
you redraft your script. The only thing you lose is time, right? You reshoot your movie, you lose tens of millions of dollars.
You damage a submarine, you lose 40 million or whatever the fuck's going on with Mission Impossible. Ooh.
Fucking Captain America. Poor Anthony Mackie, honestly. He must be so demoralized right now.
Yeah.
Constantine says, Mauler, years ago you read an intro titled The Knight, the Dragon, the King. Was that an actual book? And if so, what was it called?
That was a short story intro that Wolf wrote. I think he shared it with us to sort of get our opinions on it. I really liked it when I read it. I thought it was super fucking interesting, and I started having all kinds of ideas about what it would mean. It's basically like, to summarize it real quick, it's like a knight wakes up in what seems to be hell, and his bones are broken, he's bleeding all over the place, his flesh is all torn apart, and all he can remember is he wants revenge. He's just like angry. He's just furious at whatever did this to him. And he can only keep a couple of memories in his head, and he's trying his best to just crawl out of whatever this situation he's in is while you're in his head. I thought it was super interesting, and I was obviously just like anyone would, thinking about what this could all mean and where it could go. And so I, as a surprise to Wolf, recorded a voiceover of it and just gave a quick visuals and sent it to him. He liked it, and I was like, "Do you mind if I just release it?" And he was like, "Yeah, go for it." That is the story of that.
That is pretty cool.
It was a fun little project.
Metal Face Rosie says, now might be a good time for an EFAP on In Praise of Shadows. People are finally finding out B-tubers or Bo-tubers took over the horror community.
I have very little context for that. It was unfortunate. Some people were saying like this is perfect EFAP material. It's not really perfect when I don't know anything, nor do the co-hosts, about the YouTubers involved. Unfortunately, Wendigoon is not someone I'm familiar with. A lot of people are. He's pretty popular, and apparently he was hardcore misrepresented in this video. But I would have to go through all of his channel before I could understand what this video had done exactly. From what I've seen, many big YouTubers have annihilated the video in question, and In Praise of Shadows has actually deleted the portion on Wendigoon from the video, as far as I'm aware.
Okay, interesting.
One of those situations happens all the time.
Yeah. Exotic Player. Interested to know an actor which you don't particularly like or have seen many of their movies, but they nailed one role and you couldn't imagine anyone else pulling it off. For me, it's George Clooney as Seth Gecko in From Dusk Till Dawn. That's a pretty good example, actually.
Yeah.
Any other actors we can think of that, yeah, we might not like, or we might not have seen too many of their movies, but they just, one particular role, they just absolutely knocked it out of the park.
I mean, we've sort of been asked this before, right? I'm trying to think of.
Well, we've had lots of variations on this question, I suppose. This is quite a specific scenario they're asking here. I don't know. Would Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool count? I think so, because I feel like his career has been mostly like it's been hit and miss, but mostly miss. Like they've just never quite found the right role for him, and that was just tailor made for him.
It's weird, right? Because he would, even though I kind of agree with you, he would have still been considered A-list, or would he be B-list, like the top of B-list?
I think he was lower tier A-list and kind of trending towards B-list when Deadpool happened. That's like fair. I think if that movie had flopped, like that essentially would have been the end of him as a top tier actor. Like he would have moved down into TV and stuff after that.
I mean, TV is not even a strict move down these days, right? A lot of
no, I get, you know what I mean though. Like just I think the big movie projects would have been out of his reach at that point. They would have just seen him as he's not he's not a viable box office choice. Swaniac says, finally finished Soma and then the EFAP and your video series more. Crazy how much I missed and choices that I didn't know was a choice that I could even make.
I adore that fucking game. It's amazing. That's all I have to say. Hopefully you liked it too.
Project Taco says, hello, Mr. Jordan, sir. May I have your reaction to meme that I tagged you on Twitter, sir? Hello, Jeremy and panel. I mean, you can try, but it's just like when people tag me on things on Twitter, that's like added to the notifications. You know, it's added to the 5,000 other notifications I get every time I log in. So I don't always see them, unfortunately. Chris Nicholson says, honestly, after they established in Fury Road that it's rare for children to be born without defects, I figured that Furiosa was just born without her arm. Yeah, I mean, that probably would have been a fair cop, I suppose.
I am fine with them trying to use it. What they ended up with, I was like, what? That took me out, unfortunately. I think I said to you in the podcast, had her arm come off when he drove the wheel into the car, that would have been enough for me. I'd have been like, shit, there it goes. Simple as that.
Oh shit, she's got an arm off.
Yeah, but like there's something valuable, I think, to the idea that it's almost like a response to the notion of like, don't you want to know how she got her iconic arm? When it's just like, it's as simple as she lost it in the middle of a fight. Like, fine, yeah, that's all it takes sometimes. But no, this was so much weirder, and I don't even like. Yeah, I would have preferred that she just never had a fucking arm if you're gonna do it like that.
Yeah, I tend to agree. Watt says Gibson has confirmed that he would come back as Max. I didn't know that was true actually, but that's cool if so. Make it happen.
Get him and Tom Hardy in the same movie. Establish that Tom Hardy is not Mel Gibson's Max. He's a kid that was inspired. That theory that a lot of people have.
Oh, the feral kid from Mad Max 2. Yeah, you could
just get them in the same fucking car. Max is the amazing driver and he's a good shot, and then Tom Hardy is the physical one who's jumping between cars, doing all kinds of shit. And just it's to me, I'm like, if that doesn't work, then I guess Mad Max as a franchise is over. Fine. But like, guys, can we just try? Give it a shot.
Just try. Wait, I've got a better idea, right? The idea is, and stick with me on this one, multiverse. So Gibson is Prime Max, and then Tom Hardy is like a variant from a different like timeline. And they go through a portal and they have to join up to fight with each other. And there's other Mad Maxes that are like, you know, an elephant and stuff, and just like all kinds of wacky stuff from all the different timelines, and they all have to join forces to fight Lord Humongous again. But I think that's gold at this point.
It wouldn't be portals. It would be like, you know, that scene where they all come in. It would have to be some kind of yard filled, is it like scrap yard? And they all burst out of the scrap. All these different people. Well,
one of the mechanic guys just invents like an interdimensional engine for his car, and if you rev it really hard, like you just like burst through the fabric of reality, and then it just takes you to a different Mad Max era or a different Mad Max timeline. Make it happen.
Yeah. Iconic characters coming through and variants of them.
Yeah. Metal Face Rosie says, what's with this Thunderdome and Tina Turner slander? Thunderdome is the best Mad Max and Entity is the best villain. Wrong on both counts, sir. Thunderdome is it's fine. It's not the best. Roll 250 says Fury Road was one of my favorite movies of all time, so I was really excited to see Furiosa with my girlfriend. I looked up IMAX tickets and they were £22 each. This is getting out of hand. Yeah, you're fucking right. Like, that's ridiculous. £22 for a ticket. That's absurd.
We talked about all the other reasons. That's another one. Just toss it on as the reason pile of why you just don't want to do it.
Yeah. Overseer's Logs says, fun fact, many of the scenes from Fury Road were done in the Mojave Desert near the time of, what was that? Of OR, during an event called Wasteland Weekend. The cars and some of the extras are part of the event participants. That's interesting.
That's really cool.
Yeah. Carlos Rue says, in JLA show, Aquaman cut his hand to save his son.
Okay.
Justice League of America? Okay. So what, he cut his entire hand off or something? Is that what you're saying?
I assume this is in reference to how significant wounds, obviously the way to go is to do it in a sacrifice or a big decision. You can do that. I was trying to suggest one for Furiosa, but like I said, I would happily have had it be a normal scrap and she just has a wound that takes her fucking arm off because this wield is harsh, that sort of thing.
Yeah. Man in the camel hat says, Drinker, seems like a lot of your books are no longer available on Amazon. Yeah, this is most probably like an overseas thing. It happens all the time. It's usually fine in the UK, but like if you go to America or Australia, it's really spotty just because they don't ship them over there always. Because again, it's a UK publisher for most of my books. So it's annoying, and I'm constantly chasing them about it to try and sort the availability. But it is what it is, unfortunately. North Met Mon says, had high hopes of Furiosa, not a girl boss, but boring story, wasted villain, and awkward CGI. No rewatchability. I would rather rewatch Fury Road because of the real stunts. I tend to agree.
Yeah, I can see myself rewatching Fury Road down the line. I don't think I'll see Furiosa again. And I'm not even hating on the film. I'm just saying, like, I just don't... There's nothing in it I need to see again, I don't think.
Yeah. Rated M says, Furiosa and Dementis, a Mad Max, Barbie, and Ken. That's kind of what they're like, yeah. Emilio, to try and entice you towards Clone Wars, respectfully request you view 5-minute clip titled The Brutality of Umbara Part 1. Nice display of masculinity and military command. Pretty pleased with Jack Daniels on top. So, okay. Do you know anything about that clip that he referenced?
Can you say the title again?
The Brutality of Umbara, Part 1.
Is this the only umbrella is like Star Wars related. Is that they probably don't know what this is.
So I think he's citing this as an example of how the Clone Wars actually had some really good stuff in there, and it's like if you watch that 5-minute clip, it'll probably sell you on it.
I've heard people say the Umbara arc is one of the best, if not the best arc in the whole show. So that's probably what that is.
Okay. Rated M says it's hilarious. Double Impact with Jean-Claude Van Damme is a better Lost Twin story than The Acolyte. Double Impact's awesome. I love that movie. Ran out of channel names says stones sink because they look down. Dogs mostly float. Ergo, dogs can look up. Checkmate, atheists. Dogs can look up. I can verify that fact.
Oh, I love that movie.
Yeah. I just love it.
Are they on...
He pulls a fucking dart out of his head and he's like, but dogs can look up.
This movie is just constantly paying off everything that's set up. But do they have 4Ks for the Cornetto? They don't, do they?
I'm not sure, actually.
This annoys me. Oh, maybe they do. Never mind. Oh, that's weird, though. They released... I can see them as a trilogy, but... Like, as in they're in one box... You know, like I like a trilogy box set that's custom. I'm not a huge fan of the trilogies that come in the same format as just a regular form, you know, like Blu-ray.
Yeah, like it should be. Yeah, because it's something special. It should be.
Yeah, it
like,
doesn't
more
feel
unique.
as special. It's like that. But yeah, apparently it does exist in 4K that way. So at least it's that.
Okay. Go and Shogi says that's okay, Leslie, because people who feed unsuspecting women to their boss, I don't consider a human in the first place. That's fair. Albert Nada Retro says, no respect for Theron. She's abusive. Ask Tom Hardy. Is that true? Was she difficult to work with on set or abusive? Never heard anything bad about her.
Specifically who, sorry?
Charlize Theron.
So I've seen a couple of people messaging about this. Apparently she did not have a fun time making Fury Road. I don't know the specifics and I wouldn't want to claim any direction. I just know that that's apparently an explanation for why they might not have gone with any of her for Furiosa.
Okay.
Which is a shame, because like I said, when I rewatched Fury Road, I was like, yeah, Charlize Theron's doing everything she can to make this work, so I appreciate that.
Yeah. Two Rivers says, I just watched Baby Reindeer on Netflix. That show is amazing. Such a truthful depiction of abuse and victimhood. That last episode was a banger for emotional beats, and the ending was fantastic. I agree. It was an excellent show. I really enjoyed it. Superb acting, superb writing, good stuff. Gabriella Jedrichow says, good evening, gentlemen. Any chance of Master and Commander on EFAP War Arc? There's no Orlando Bloom, sadly, but still good.
So I love you guys for messaging these things, but the War Arc's done, as in we recorded them all, and the list was released of what films are in it.
So you're saying there's a chance?
I guess I am saying there's a chance because we might record more in future, which is totally fine. I'm just saying, like, anybody who's like a part of this War Arc, is there a chance of this out? It's like the list is out. You can go find it if you want of what ones we're going to cover. And I think in the trailer, or at least said on streams, it's a bizarre list, and it won't make any sense to anybody because it wasn't constructed that way when we started. In fact, for example, the first one, that was just random. I think some of us wanted to see 300, and we were like, hey, do you want to watch it? And we're like, yeah. And so we did. That was it. And then we were like, we want to watch Troy. And they were like, yeah, you know, might be available at this time. We can try and sync back up. And then we were like, oh, let's do an arc. And then every time, I think we had a section of about, I don't want to say 4 films to do. And then someone didn't turn up, and we're like, all right, we don't want to miss this film for them, so we'll do this film for now. And then it ended up fucking becoming 14 in total, I think.
Oh, yeah. Timmy04 says, Mauler, you're right. The Gentleman Show is excellent. I love Eddie and Susie's dynamic.
Yeah. Well, I think almost everybody in our sphere has recommended that show, right?
Yeah, can't go too far wrong with it. It's good fun. John Gates says, much like Doctor Strange loved Christine in every universe, I hate Kang in every universe. Also, come on, guys. Clearly, Fringy will fly in an Australian twister to counteract the American one. They spin the other way down there, just like the water. That is true. I think that could work. Jay Fraser says, hail gents, prayers for the Rakita family. Indeed, yeah, the tough times there, but hopefully he can turn things around for himself. Randy Slicker says, Tom is a cameo from stories he made up for his kids called The Adventures of Farmer Ham. It's like a cartoon Superdog turned up in a modern Superman movie because they are from the same franchise. Okay.
All right.
Big Blue Minamiku says, Note to JD Payne and Patrick McKay, when you're standing on the shoulders of giants, probably best not to flop your knobs out and start spraying piss everywhere. That is good advice for them. I hope they take
Really
it.
solid advice, yeah.
Kevin O'Neill. Tom Bombadil is to music what Neo is to the Matrix. The remainder of an impossibly complex equation to whom the rules of that equation don't apply. That's my stone theory, and I'm sticking to it. I think that's a good theory. I like it.
Solid, yeah.
Hunter says, Drinker, why are you stating facts from 199? You still have another 1900 years of sunshine. For example, in the year 97 AD, Joe Biden was born. That's true, yeah. I was just trying to make it vaguely relevant to modern pop culture, you know. Jay Fraser says, I Am Legend 2 will follow up on the alternate ending where Will Smith lived rather than the terrible theatrical ending. Michael B. Jordan is set to co-star. So that's happening, eh?
Okay.
Yeah, fair enough. Lego My Bacon says, End of Evangelion came out in 97. The best thing to traumatize me. Okay, good choice. An Actual Roach says, I think we need a sequel to the Ralph Bakshi Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, let's give him a
crazy
go.
Animated ones.
Yeah, well, is he? He's still alive, isn't he? I've seen him talk about. Is he? Does he still make things?
I don't know.
Actually, how old is he?
Heard much from him.
He's 85. He can still make stuff.
Oh yeah, that's a great age to be directing movies. Sure.
Maybe I should leave him alone and let him just chill out.
Yeah, like Ridley Scott. How about you just stop directing things? Snex says, Will Galadriel tell us about the time she single-handedly defeated an ice troll in 12 parsecs? I hope so.
Hope so.
Taker610. Google AI search apparently identified an openly gay Star Wars character named Slurpy Faggy who has a boyfriend named Dr. Butto. I think they both work for the Schlurpo, and his boss is Schlurpo too. It seems like a sound theory to me, so I can buy into that. Patriotic Cat. Hey, Drinker, you mentioned awful writers don't have life experience. What's something new writers with little life experience avoid doing when writing? Let me get that again. So what's something that new writers with little life experience avoid doing when writing? So it's not so much that they avoid it. I would imagine it's that they just implement it badly. If you're, say, trying to write a scene between two hardened, grizzled characters with loads of baggage and loads of tough times that they've been through, like facing off against each other. If you've never experienced anything remotely like that, you're probably not going to do such a great job. And I think that's probably the kind of things that they struggle with.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say, it's a hard question to answer. It's like, what do inexperienced writers reliably avoid doing? Like, I don't know, maybe understanding a more realistic version of the sort of situation they want to portray because they're not familiar with how it can go. They only know like a very limited version of it.
Yeah,
something like that.
Recovery Anonymous says, do not badmouth Tom Bombadil. He's a merry fellow and his boots are yellow. That is true, and I've heard his jacket is blue.
He is merry. That's true.
Yeah. Travis Broussard says, give us more cold opens like Timeless Children. Is that what we want?
When they, I assume they mean they want more of it to why do they want more of it?
Yeah. Why do you want more of things like Timeless Children? Bubowski says, hey, Drinker and Mauler, do you think Hot Fuzz is the greatest movie in the comedic Three Flavors Cornetto film trilogy from Edgar Wright? I think we probably do, yes.
I believe it is the tightest script, the funniest one out of the three. Well, the interesting question might be which one has the best emotional payoff. Like,
ooh,
and I'm not sure. It might actually be the third one. Shockingly,
I think it is. Yeah, I think it's definitely it's not as tight and it's perhaps not as funny in places, but man, it's got the emotional beats there for sure, and it's so well built up throughout the movie.
When I just I remember feeling like they were bold for making Gary King so flawed.
Yeah,
because Sean is much more of a normal good man. Obviously, Angel is like a really good man, and then Gary King is kind of a very bad man.
Yeah, he's just a complete prick for most of the movie, but then I guess you find out things about him that put it into context and makes a lot more sense. Kathy's Dead Goldfish says, have you seen the trailer for the Amazon series My Lady Jane? A girl boss Lady Jane grey and a black gay king. Looks terrible. Awesome. Can't wait to not watch it. Sounds shit. Rory Swain says, "Hail to the drinker, Mauler and Co. This will be my last super chat for a while, as my fiance and I are building a house, so none for the time being." Well, I understand, man. And you're building your own house. That is fucking cool. So
Yeah.
I wish you the best of luck. Graph Webb says, "Cancel Disney Plus." I see nothing wrong with that.
Fair enough.
Lomado Komasowski says, "Have you seen Succession?" Yes, not all of it, but I have watched it, and it's pretty good.
I adore season 1 and 2. I thought season 3 treaded water. I am not a fan of season 4.
Ooh, is that the last of it, or is it still going? Okay. Recovery Anonymous. But for real, Tom Bombadil is my favorite part of Fellowship. Amazon should be tried for war crimes for messing with him. I mean, really? In Fellowship of the Ring, that was your favorite character in the whole book? I mean, that's a bold claim, but fair enough. It's a take, that's for sure. Denied Delight says, "Speaking of Dan and Dave, not sure if you guys spoke about this before, but did any of you watch The Three-Body Problem? If yes, what are your opinions on it? If no, are you planning to?" I mean, I heard it was dog shit, so I just never bothered with it.
I heard mixed things, but I didn't. It disappeared. So, like, if everyone had talked about it for a bit longer, I might have checked it out. But it's, like I said, it's just sort of gone. It's like, all right.
Yeah. Jay Fraser says, "Have you seen Barbarella, Queen of the Galaxy from 1968? And are you looking forward to seeing Sydney Sweeney star in the Edgar Wright directed remake?" I very much am, but I hope they maintain the tone of the original. Yeah, that was Jane Fonda that was in the Barbarella back in the 60s. I think it was.
It's been a while.
Yeah. That was just pure exploitation. So, damn. Yeah. I don't know if they get away with that now. Amy Curtis says, "Hi, drinker and panel. If you could live in any house or movie..." Sorry. Oh, yeah. I think we did this on the night, actually. It was asking us if we could live in any house from a movie or a TV show or whatever. Yeah. Where would you like to go? Yeah. Jay Fraser says, "Drinker, what type of Star Trek show would you make if you were a showrunner? You have full creative control, and Alex Kurtzman has been erased." Okay. Where would I set it? I would probably want to move a little bit beyond the TNG era, because I'm sick of all the fucking prequels and like going backwards and stuff. I think you have to move forwards with Star Trek. So either make it set in the TNG era or just slightly past it. And then, I don't know, like, it's a pretty tried and tested formula of having a crew on a starship, going out into the galaxy, exploring, having adventures, meeting crazy new aliens, and having all these interesting moral conundrums that they have to come up against. I mean, it's not exactly super complex, but it gives you so much freedom creatively to explore any kind of wild stuff. And I would just, my focus would be on having a great cast of characters, like a great crew that's really actually interesting and good at their jobs. Yeah, like try and harken back, I suppose, to that classic era of Trek.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Hi Rukami says, "Trump found guilty on all 34 counts." Yes, he was indeed. Jesus Davila gave us a thumbs up, so thanks, man. And John Smith says, "Texas Chainsaw remake with Jessica Biel, yay or nay?" I'm going to say broadly yay. I didn't love it.
I think it was fine.
Yeah, I mean, you got to see Jessica Biel in like a tank top, so that was nice. And it was suitably gory and brutal, so yeah, again, those are not the kind of horror movies that I generally love, like just watching people get sliced and diced, but fine for what it was, I suppose. You know, the original was going to take some beating, but I think it was fair enough. Anyway, that is the final super chat that we've got on our list, so we made it to the end. Thank you guys for sending us all those questions, and hopefully we're able to answer them for you. And I guess we will catch you on the next open bar, which is going to be on Thursday, and we are going to be talking about The Acolyte, which will be fun. We've got high hopes for this one. Mauler just made a briefly retarded noise there. Like,
that is the best way to assess the noise, because that represents, it's a combination of excitement and pure retardation. There you go.
Anyway, on that note, everyone, that's us finished for today. So.